What's up, everybody? Welcome to That Nintendo Show. A very special moment is coming tomorrow. Less than 24 hours from now, we're going to finally have the blowout presentation about the Nintendo Switch 2. So, like many other people, we're going to go through some predictions about what we might see in the Nintendo Direct tomorrow. A couple of housekeeping things before we get started. I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm tired in the morning whenever this stuff happens. But I originally had set the watch party live stream for tomorrow morning to be at 8:30 a.m., thinking that the Switch presentation in my time zone was at 9. The presentation's at 8 a.m., which means the watch party starts at 7:30 a.m. So of course I'll have that updated, and a link to that will be in the description of this video. So if you want to hang out with me tomorrow morning while we react and watch all the announcements from the Switch 2 presentation, feel free to swing by. We're going to have a good time. And then there's also a Nintendo Treehouse that's going live directly after that, where they're going to be playing a lot of the new Switch 2 games on the new system and everything like that. So there's more to unpack than just the 1 hour presentation that's going live at 8 a.m. Central, 6 a.m. Pacific, whatever, time zones and all that jazz. So anyway, let's get into it. I promised this video like a week ago, but yeah, things just don't work out that way sometimes. So real quick, first thing, the pricing and release date. That seems to be the one thing that people really just are latched onto other than the games. I don't know. I have gone back and forth for, I guess, since even before the January presentation about what the price of the system is going to be. I think I've finally settled on that $399. I don't think it's going to be any cheaper than that. Some people think it will be. I don't. $450 is kind of like the max, unless there's like different tiers of what this system, like different bundles and stuff like that, or ones with more memory, or any of that kind of stuff. I think 400 to 450 is kind of like the sweet spot with that. As far as the release date goes, man, it's one of these like really hard questions to answer, because it makes sense that they would wait until all of the Switch 2 in-person things that are going on for the next couple of weeks are done before they release it, which would put us, I think it's June 12th, or that weekend of June 12th before it comes out. The thing that scares me the most is not necessarily the release date, but it's the pre-order release date, because we've heard that it could start tomorrow after the presentation and not like give it a couple days and then go. Depending on the retailer and how they do that, that could get really crazy really quick. So it could be everyone rushes off the video as soon as the pre-orders go live and you're not able to get one. I mean, it's still possible you have a hard time getting one, even if they say wait till like Friday before you can do it, or next Monday, or however they decide to do that. But just be ready, because it's coming. The next couple days is when those pre-orders are going to go live, and we as a gaming community really have a fight against scalpers for everything. So hopefully everyone who wants one is going to be able to get one, and if you're a scalper, shame on you. Hear me? Shame on me. Shame on you. You shouldn't be doing that. Okay, anyway, let's move on to final predictions as far as features for the Switch 2 goes. I got a couple things here. We know for a fact that there are going to be mouse controls on the Joy-Cons. Rumored mouse controls for a new Pro controller that can break in half. Don't know if that's still legit or not, but a couple weeks ago that was a rumor going around. Kind of games that get supported for it. I mean, it makes the most sense for first-person shooters, so like your Metroid Prime 4 type games having some type of mouse controls to go along with them. People apparently really want to see a new Mario Paint, or just the old Mario Paint brought over. I've never played Mario Paint, so I mean, I'll give anything a shot, but it just seems like that game might be made for those type of controls, and I'm really curious to see like how creative Nintendo gets with the mouse controls, if that is the big gimmick for the Switch 2. Now, before the Switch 2 trailer, we knew pretty much everything about the hardware side of like the design of the Switch 2. And there was this talk about a C button below the home button on the right Joy-Con. Well, when Nintendo revealed the trailer for the Switch 2, There was magically not a letter on that button. Well, whenever the Nintendo News app released a few days ago, they had a picture on the App Store of the Switch 2 that showed the C button, so we do know that that is a C button. And now that we're back to that conversation, it comes back to, what does the C button do, right? Well, we don't really have any concrete information. Everything, hearsay about what we speculate it's going to be. And the big one is that it's still this thing called Campus, or is codenamed Campus, and it's pretty much all the social features of it. So if you have an Xbox or a PlayStation, kind of think about how, like, if you press the PlayStation button or the Xbox button, it pulls up a tab, and you can cycle between, like, you're going home actually to, like, the home screen, or you can go to, like, your game chat, messaging, stuff like that. Think kind of how that is, but the Campus button does all of the social stuff, and the home button is just a home button. That's kind of the way people are speculating this is going to go, which I'm okay with. Like, I mean, I feel like I've gotten used to it over the years, but like the Xbox game bar, the PlayStation, whatever they call theirs on the PS5, it's just, it does the job. But like, if I want to hit the home button, I want to go home. Like, I don't need to go do all this other stuff. Like, I just want to go home. So it makes sense that they're doing that. Now, my big thing is how Nintendo handles voice chat on the Switch too, because that might be the really big kicker with this, is voice chat and social features, which they've always been really shy of doing that kind of stuff. Like, there's like, okay, you need to download a smartphone app, you need to do whatever else. Like, I mean, I don't know many people who use the Nintendo Switch Online voice chat app. They all just use Discord. I think it'd be really cool if Discord was just integrated into the Switch too, and that would just be cake. Maybe it doesn't come at launch. They do it later on, kind of like how Xbox and PlayStation just got it within like the last year or so. So I would love to see something like that come. And of course, they might have some more like integrated social features, like what is it called, Miiverse on the Wii U, or even bringing back like some form of Street Pass from the 3DS would be really cool. But of course, that's like one of the big other like gimmicky things that we don't know exactly how that's going to go, but I'm sure they're going to blow the lid off that tomorrow. And finally, as far as just like features go, we do know that the Switch 2 has a second USB-C port on the top of the system. And it's pretty safe to say that's just for charging the system, but there's always a chance that they do something weird with it, where they make special attachments or something that snap onto the top of it. People have been talking about being able to snap a second Switch onto it to either make a DS or a Wii U type of format with the system, so you could play different types of games with it. I don't think they do that. I don't think that there's any way that they have a system set up to snap a second Switch onto the top of the first one, because it just feels like, I mean, they'd have to make a bracket and everything for it, unless that, there's no way it's just held on by just that Type-C port, because that thing would break. I don't see that happening. I could be wrong. Like I said, there could be a bracket for it, and I'm ready to have my mind blown about all the crazy things that they're doing with this system tomorrow. Now here comes the thing that everyone wants to talk about, and that is the games. We know of 2 major releases happening this year, and a potential third one already, that are going to be either made for Switch 2 or have a specific Switch 2 version. Pretty safe bet that Metroid Prime 4 and Pokemon Legends ZA are going to have Switch 2 versions. They're going to be cross-gen games. We'll come back to those in a minute. The third one being Mario Kart 9. I feel like it's pretty safe if that game is coming out this year. Now, whether it actually comes out at launch is a completely different question that we'll get into in a minute, but it's probably going to be at least a 2025 game. It could be their holiday title, because I think that Nintendo's going to launch a 3D Mario game with this system. Like, they're going to blow the lid off of it. I don't know what form that takes, though. It could be Odyssey 2. It'd be weird if they did Odyssey 2, because they've never done like a real sequel between generations. Like, I mean, we got Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 on the same system, but not like, they didn't make a Mario Galaxy 3 for the Wii U kind of thing. So I think they'll take it in a completely different direction. Whether they implement a lot of stuff from like Bowser's Fury through the Mario 3D World version that got ported over to the Switch, or they got some crazy new gimmick that they're going to do. I'm just happy to get a new Mario game, a new 3D Mario game, because it has literally been 8 years since Odyssey came out. And that game was so fun, and I just no-lifed it, thinking that maybe I won't have to wait 8 years for another Mario Odyssey type game, and we have. So I'm just ready to see something new as far as that franchise goes. And back to Mario Kart 9, no matter what they do with that game, it's going to sell like crazy. I feel like a lot of people, including myself, have been playing Mario Kart 8 for, what is it, like 12 years now, and we're tired of it. I love that game. I play it all the time still. And yes, they added new content to it, but we're ready for something new. And I'm ready to see what the fun gimmick is. The only thing that we've seen right now is that there's 24 player races, which is cool if A, you have 24 local friends, or B, you just have that many people to play online with. It's fine, but it's not like the real gimmick that I think that it could be. So I'm really excited to see like what all new stuff that they add as far as the new Mario Kart game goes. Also, just they should give us new modes for it, right? Like, why can't we have a mode where you get to play double dash rules just in this game? That'd be so cool. Like, just bring back all the gimmicks from the old games if they can, just cram them all into one. Now, the fun one. This one can go in several different directions, in my opinion, and that is what happens with The Legend of Zelda as far as this new system goes. Talked at length on this channel before about how Nintendo has kind of like a strategy where in pretty much every year of the Switch's life cycle, maybe 1 year they took off for it, but there's been some capacity a Zelda game every single year on the Switch, whether it's a brand new 3D game, a 2D game, remaster or remake, or a third-party game like Hyrule Warriors or Cadence of Hyrule. Well, we got a new 2D Zelda last year with Echoes of Wisdom. Year before, we got Tears of the Kingdom. So you follow the logic, it's either a third-party Zelda game or it's going to be a remaster or a remake of an older game. Now, the safe bet, and I feel like people are tired of talking about it, but the safe bet is that they're just going to put Wind Waker Twilight Princess HD on this system. I think that that's very likely at some point during this life cycle, because they have to know how people are just clamoring for this to come back, right? But what if there is something better coming before that? And this is where I like to entertain the idea that Nintendo has had to have seen the massive success of the Final Fantasy VII remake, and they have got to be thinking we could do that with Ocarina of Time, because they came out roughly around the same time as each other. We can make it happen. And I think that maybe not coming out this year, I would love it to, but they should release an Ocarina of Time remake that may, it doesn't have to hit the same like graphical fidelity as Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, but really just bring that game up and let that be like the showcase about how powerful this system is. And it does all the DLSS upscaling because of the NVIDIA chip and everything along those lines. And it's like, this is the most gorgeous Zelda game ever made. Make it completely like seamless transitions if possible, so there's no like loading zones. I don't know what all they would do to it. If you go on YouTube, you can find clips of like these Unreal Engine 5 like remakes of Ocarina of Time that just look stunning. And they have a lot of like, they look gorgeous, but they're just missing that little bit of Nintendo charm in them. I don't know how else to explain it. If you ever watch one of those videos, you'll know what I'm talking about. But we get that, and then a couple years from now, we get a Majora's Mask. And then everything's complete. The Switch 2 is the best system ever made. It just, oh gosh, my heart I couldn't handle it if it got all that. If it's not anything like that, there have been talks about just bringing like ported versions of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom with enhancements over to take advantage of the new hardware. I feel like that's also just a really safe bet. Might not even be something that's warranted like a full announcement, just saying, hey, if you play these games on the Switch 2, they're going to run better. Now, they could release like Switch 2 versions or enhanced versions of these games, but who knows? It's that one's kind of like getting into this question about like you think when the PS5 came out, your PS4 games ran just fine on PS5. Some of them ran better even without performance patches. But then some games, Sony charged 10, 15 bucks. Like, what was it? It was Horizon Zero Dawn and The Last of Us to let them play better on PS5. And that could be a route that they decide to go with it. It's like, okay, well, Tears of the Kingdom, yes, you paid $70 for this game, but if you give us another 10, we'll let you upgrade for free, or you pay us another $10 and we'll let you upgrade to the Switch 2 version where it actually plays at 60 frames per second in full HD, no frame rate dips, no nothing. Like, it just works the way that it was supposed to. A couple more Nintendo first party IPs that I want to touch up on. We're not going to go through like the entire catalog of stuff. We'd be here all day, which I'm not opposed to, but I feel like y'all have other things to do. So we're just going to kind of button some of these up. Generation 10 of Pokemon and Pokemon Legends ZA, kind of already talked about ZA a little bit. I feel like everything we've seen with that game so far has been Switch 2 footage. I don't think they want to admit that, but I feel like there could be a almost night and day difference between how ZA looks on a Switch 2 versus a Switch 1. And we'll see that probably here soon whenever they do any kind of like comparisons between those two versions of that game. Super excited for ZA though, and I think it's going to be one of the best year one games that we get to play on the Switch 2. As far as Generation 10 goes, yes, that's probably not coming until next year, but they could start teasing it now, whether it's showing off like a new Pokemon. They're like, oh, where'd this Pokemon come from? It's not in the Kalos Dex or whatever, if they end up renaming this region or something like that. It's not in this Dex. Kind of think like your Meltans and stuff like that. They kind of like that intergenerational Pokemon kind of thing. See like kind of that, just teasing the next generation. But that's probably not coming until next year. But it'd be really cool if they at least just acknowledge the existence of like, hey, this is coming next year. It also begs the question with that about whether Pokemon is going to be cross-gen or not, because a lot of these generational games, whether in that first year or something, they end up releasing on the old system and the new system. But judging by how poorly Scarlet and Violet ran on the Switch 1, I don't see Pokemon Generation 10 releasing on the old system unless it's completely just redone from the ground up kind of thing. Like, they can't bring this open world concept, and of course can't have like a memory leak or whatever the actual reason was why this game ran so bad on the regular Switch. Speaking of Scarlet and Violet, though, just a little bonus thing, that could also be one of those games that gets a performance patch for the Switch 2 to make it run better. I would be totally on board with that. I've kind of already exhausted everything you can do in Scarlet and Violet, but I would at least revisit the game just to see what all's new, and if it's like $10 to upgrade, sure. Metroid Prime 4, again, not a lot I'm going to sit here and talk about. I'm not the biggest Metroid person, sorry in advance for that. I will say, though, that first trailer that they showed around this time last year or summer last year, whenever that was, I'm bad with dates, but that trailer looked, to me, way better than the trailer we got last week. And it makes me almost wonder if the trailer we got at the beginning was Switch 2 Metroid Prime, and the trailer we got last week was Switch 1. Now, it wasn't like some drastic night and day difference kind of thing, but I was watching it and I was like, this doesn't look as good as the first trailer did. And so that's where I'm getting this idea that maybe we have already seen the Switch 2 version, and it definitely just looks a lot better. Now, we're gonna, like, as we've kind of go through this, we're gonna kind of get into the weeds slightly with Nintendo first party games. And one of the last ones we're going to talk about is Animal Crossing. It's been 5 years since Animal Crossing New Horizons came out, which makes me feel really old because like it does not feel like it's been 5 years, and how much my life is different than it was during COVID whenever that game came out. But I don't think that's something that's coming out this year, though. That'd be really wild to be like, oh yeah, we're releasing Metroid, Pokemon, Mario Kart, and Animal Crossing all in the same year. Oh, and maybe Zelda, like in the same year. Don't see that necessarily being a thing, but if they're like, hey, this is coming out spring of next year, then sure. my only hope with Animal Crossing is that if they do another one soon, is that they just gotta support it. Like people, that's like the big gripe people have with New Horizons was like they only had a year's worth of content updates, and yeah, they did like the Happy Home expansion thing, but as far as just like new events and stuff, like it was just that first year, and then that was it before it was over. Um, the only other one that really I got here is just talking about Splatoon 4. I think we're a little ways off from Splatoon 4 coming out. They might start teasing it a little bit, but if you remember, Splatoon 2 did not take that long to come out between Splatoon 1, and Splatoon 2 was also a launch year title for the Switch 1. I'm gonna get those numbers mixed up. A lot of 2s and 1s running around there. I mean, it's possible that that comes out, or there's just an enhanced version of Splatoon 3 that just runs at a higher frame rate and looks better and stuff. I miss Splatoon 3. I played that game so much whenever it came out that I just got so burnt that like it's hard to go back and play it again, because I mean I grinded that game whenever it came out. Um, this is just kind of like a wild one that I think would be really funny, because you know they're gonna have some like super gimmicky game that's gonna take advantage of all of the new features of the Switch 2. So like you got your, I think it'd be really funny if there's like a 1-2-3 Switch, because people had their problems with 1-2 Switch, and then Nintendo kind of doubled down and said, no, here's everybody's 1-2 Switch, and that game was just terrible. And I think it'd be really funny if they go, okay, here's 1-2-3 Switch, or just something stupid like that. And then also a sequel to ARMS called Legs. The potential's there. They just need to do it. And then finally, Ring Fit Adventure 2. I feel like that would sell like crazy if they make another one of those, because of course your existing Ring Fit stuff will more than likely work on the Switch 2, but getting a new yoga ring out that works with the new Joy-Cons and making a new game out of it, like the potential's there. And Nintendo loves to have like some kind of fitness game, maybe not like right at launch, but kind of close afterwards. So Ring Fit Adventure 2 just makes the most sense. And I've neglected to talk about it because I made a whole separate video about Smash Brothers, but I'm all here for it. Like, I know I got kind of roasted alive on the internet by my thoughts about whether it's a reboot or a remake, and sorry in advance for getting some of the stipulations about which games are playable on what systems. We'll go ahead and get that out of the way now. But yeah, just I would love a new Smash. It has not been as long since his new Mario Kart as far as getting that game goes, and it was supported for several years, but I think we're ready. Even if it's just Ultimate Deluxe, just have something close to the launch of this system. It's going to be crazy to play. I can sit here all day and talk about like third-party support, because there's a lot of new games that are coming out or have recently released that would be perfect for this system. So like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is supposedly, and Remake are supposedly losing their PlayStation exclusivity and are going to start showing up on other systems. We've got Call of Duty, whether they're going to bring Black Ops 6 or they're just going to release Warzone on the Switch 2, and then with the new Call of Duty coming out this holiday. Assassin's Creed Shadows just came out. That'd be a perfect game to release, or just Mirage that came out a couple years ago. We're kind of getting close to them. Ubisoft wanting to do like a new Mario Rabbids or something. That could potentially show up here. The one that everyone kind of like is expecting, and I feel so bad for this community, because this community has gone through the same ringer that everyone who's been waiting for more powerful Nintendo hardware has been dealing with since the Switch came out, which is just, oh, it's going to be here, it's going to be here kind of thing. And that's the Hollow Knight community. I feel really bad for those people, and Silksong should be here. Like, I'm on your side. I've never played Hollow Knight. I need to. Don't yell at me. But let's see Hollow Knight Silksong. Like, I think that's a pretty safe one to show up here. Resident Evil remakes for 2, 3, and 4. Pretty safe predictions that they could show up, and not like cloud versions of those games. I mean, there's a lot of stuff, and I'm really interested to see. Like, I want you to leave comments below about what games you would like to see ported to the Switch, whether they're third party, or even your predictions about what direction you would like to see the new 3D Mario go, or new Zelda, or whatever ends up being the next part of that. That's pretty much it. The last thing I got, and it's kind of like a you sit here and think about like how expensive this is going to be. Just kind of circling back here. System's $400 or $450 probably. Those new micro SD express cards, $100 to $150 for one with a good amount of storage on them. There's no telling how expensive those new Joy-Cons are going to be. If you need extra sets or Pro Controllers, I mean, get your wallet ready, because we're going to get a lot tomorrow morning, and it's going to add up pretty quick. Hey, thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like below. Also, subscribe if this is your first time here. And don't forget, tomorrow morning, 7:30 a.m. Central Time, we'll be going live on the channel with a watch party and then a post-show discussion talking about everything we saw. And also following up with that is the Nintendo Treehouse, where they're going to be playing some of these new games they're talking about tomorrow. Hope to see you there. And yeah, everyone have a good time. Tomorrow's Christmas morning, but it's also April 2nd. So see you then.